Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551. Okay, yeah, and I am back with a My Two Cent Nintendo / gaming video for this week, for the week of December 22nd to the 28th, where I take a look at some of the stories that caught my attention and give you my thoughts and my opinion on them. I hope all of you out there had a safe and happy holidays, regardless of what holiday you celebrate, whether it's Christmas or Kwanzaa. If I'm saying the name correctly, I apologize if I'm not saying it correctly or anything like that. And of course, Hanukkah as well. Being Jewish, I celebrate Hanukkah and all that stuff. And hopefully you guys got what you wanted for the holidays and so forth. And hopefully you guys had good time spending it with friends or families and all that stuff. So hopefully everyone had a safe and enjoyable holidays, and hopefully you guys will have a safe and enjoyable New Year's Eve and New Year's Day when that rolls around, though. Before we get started on this, we'll do a quick My Two Cent one, and this is basically only one that we have right now. News is kind of slowing down a little bit because, it's the holidays and all that stuff. I'm sure we'll start picking it up into the new year and all. And that is apparently a new trailer, or at least a trailer in Japan, was shown for the upcoming Sonic the Hedgehog movie, the upcoming movie that Paramount is doing, and it showed off basically what apparently many are seeing now is a baby Sonic and all. And, well, I would say it looks interesting and all that stuff. Will it overtake Baby Yoda from The Mandalorian, though? Really good show. It's worth watching. Whether it's worth paying $10 a month for Disney Plus or not, it's going to come down to your opinion on that one or that. But anyway, whether it will overtake Baby Yoda or not, who knows, though? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We'll see how well the movie does when that comes out. Hopefully that movie fares. Hopefully that movie does well. Hopefully it pays off in the end after the whole backlash with basically the way Sonic was redesigned and all that stuff. But we'll have to wait and see. And whether or not, like I said, Baby Sonic overtakes Baby Yoda, that remains to be seen as well. One last thing I will say about the Sonic trailer, is about the Sonic redesign, is that unlike the movie Cats, which is bombing at box office, let's just say at least Paramount is willing to delay the movie to actually take the time to redesign Sonic in a proper way, where compared to the movie Cats, where they just released it in theaters and then they're saying, we're going to update it with the new visuals and all that stuff. That's like basically Marvel releasing Avengers Endgame and the visuals aren't completed, and then they decide, okay, we're going to release a newer version with the updated visuals and all that stuff. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That's to me, that's first time I ever heard a movie studio do something like that and all. Alright, well, with the quick My Two Cent out of the way, we'll start off with our first story, and this one has to do with a report that has been coming out in regards of a possibility we could see a 64 gigabyte Switch game card. Now, I'm sure most of you are aware that in terms of the file sizes, the highest that a file size on a Switch game card can go up to is basically a 32-bit gigabyte. However, there have been cases where some developers either don't do a good job optimizing the game for the Switch, or B, when they do bring it over, they decide to either, bring the game out and then you have to download the rest, or do what we've seen other developers do, where basically they put out an empty case with a download code and all that stuff. It's sort of is somewhat an issue that not all Switch owners. Not every Switch owner is pleased with that, though. Some aren't bothered with it, others, however, are. And at least according to this report, it looks like, though, excuse me 1 second, that we may be seeing a 64 gigabyte game cartridge perhaps in 2020. In the article from Nintendo Soup, again, links will be in the description, you could check it out. It reads that today we have some interesting news about a 64-bit gigabyte memory capability Nintendo Switch game card. Reports in the last few years claim that Nintendo wanted to release a 64 gigabyte game card in 2018, but couldn't so due to technical issues. Now a report from the Taipei Time states that flash memory maker Monix, Macronix, is rolling out its in-house 3D NAND in the second half of 2020, and their first customer is Nintendo. The 3D NAND could potentially be used for the 64-bit gigabyte game card, which Nintendo wants to release in 2018 to fail to do so. Monix, Macronic, I apologize for not saying the name correctly though, also supplies Nintendo's flash memory chips for their existing game card, so it's unlikely 3D NAND would be used for the memory configuration already released. Now, as of right now, there is no official confirmation from Nintendo or anybody at this time, so we don't know whether this story is true or not. But let's say, for argument's sake, it is true. Let's say that there will now be a 64 gigabyte cartridge out there. I think it can be both a good and a bad thing. It could be a good thing in terms of, like, especially for those developers that want to bring certain games over to Nintendo Switch. There have been stories out there where developers who do want to bring their games over to the Switch, but due to the file sizes and also the costs, there are some issues preventing them from doing that, though. So it's possible with the 64 gigabyte, they could finally maybe port over the games that they want to make. But at the same time, there's also the issue of cost and all that stuff. So on one hand, the 64 gigabyte cartridge, game card, if that does exist, excuse me, can be a good thing for developers, but there is an issue of cost and all that stuff. At the same time, we could see the other file sizes probably the price could go down for them, maybe even the 32 gigabyte one. I mean, after all, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt and the Nintendo Switch ones on a 32 gigabyte game card, although if you download it, I believe it only uses up 28 gigabytes of memory in your like micro SD card, depending on what kind of SD card you have and all. So it's really interesting. It will be really interesting to see if this does happen and we start seeing a 64 gigabyte game card, and whether or not this would answer some of the questions developers may have had with the Switch in terms of bringing certain games over, or if this will make game card file sizes like the 32 gigabyte cheaper and all that stuff. So we'll have to wait and see. So overall, hopefully this is true. Hopefully we'll see a 64 gigabyte game card as to what games could use it or anything like that, and whether developers will use a 64 gigabyte game card if it does exist. Oh, that remains to be seen at this time. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 2, and this one has to do with a report that apparently there is a, which shouldn't be surprising, a Switch knockoff. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at what apparently is a Switch knockoff. Now, when it comes to knockoff to popular consoles and so forth, it really isn't surprising to see this exist. Some of them are just laughable, and just some of them are just like, really? I mean, I've seen one where I think you had a console that looked like the PS4 and all that stuff, but had like built-in games, some of them like old games and all that stuff, aimed for like a certain market, mostly sometimes you see these in like these Chinese market and all that stuff. And then of course we can all remember the whole Soldier Boy console, the Soldier console and all that stuff, which I don't know what's worse about that one. Either the fact that he took a Chinese knockoff to claim that it is his, or the fact that the Chinese knockoff exists and all that stuff. So whatever the case is. Well, apparently it seems as though that the Switch has finally got itself a sort of a fake or a knockoff console, which honestly, I'm not shocked in any way. I'm just kind of I'm just not completely surprised and shocked and all. It's just amazing that this even exists at all. In an article posted on Nintendo Life, again, link in the description, it says, quote, "When a company creates a successful product, you could bet that unsculptures or rivals or that will try to replicate the concept with cheap clones in the hope that a few easy sales can be chalked up from unsuspecting consumers. We saw it happen with the NES Mini and just happened with the Nintendo Switch. Say hello to the Namca Smitch, Nanica Smitch, a knockoff Switch clone which comes with preload of a whopping 800 games, and as you might expect, there are ROMs which companies with the company behind this product doesn't have the rights to use. The legality of the software isn't the only headache here. While the Smitch, Smitch, does have detachable Joy-Con style controllers, it's much thicker than the Switch, and the pad lacks any kind of motion controls. While it's hard to tell categorically, the screen looks quite substandard too. There's no dock either. Instead, TV play is achieved by connecting the console directly to your display via cable. And they showed the video of it. Now, any gamer in the know will spot this fake a mile off, but it's easy to see how parents and grandparents could be fooled quite easily. The Smitch, Smitch, again, I apologize, I'm not saying the name correctly though, packaging looks very similar to the Switch, and the basic design of the console looks very, very close. Let's hope there won't be too many kids finding this under a Christmas tree in a few days' time. This came out on Sunday and all that stuff. I will say that one, although it sounds highly unlikely and there's been no reports of any kids getting this for the holidays or anything like that, I mean, I could see where some parents may have some parents could be confused about this, although I'm sure a lot of people know what a Nintendo Switch is by now and so forth. So I'm not sure how many parents will be confused by seeing this knockoff compared to the real Nintendo Switch. I'm sure there are probably some out there, but I find it kind of hard to imagine. Not to mention the video that was shown, or where this was reported, was supposedly spotted at, I believe, some store in Colombia or something like that. What I'm going to find very interesting to see is how long until Nintendo decides to take legal action against this. Obviously, if they see this, they're probably not going to be happy that some of their IPs in one of the videos that showed Super Mario Bros. 3 in it, which honestly I still view Super Mario Bros. 3 as the greatest video game ever made, to the fact that the system looks very, very similar to the Nintendo Switch, from the detachable controllers to the whole idea and so forth, though. So I'm wondering how long until Nintendo decides to take any form of legal actions, and whether they are going to do any legal actions, though. Because if you look at Nintendo's history, they have a history of being really protective of their IPs and so forth. Sometimes, I will admit, there are times when they're very protective about the stuff. They go a little bit overboard, like they do with certain, like, if YouTubers, like some YouTubers use their footage or anything, or like pay homage to something, they might file, like content ID the video and so forth. There's some people, not all YouTubers are happy with what Nintendo did in terms of that policy, although they kind of relaxed it a little bit. But then you have situations like this where I feel like Nintendo might be in the right if they decide to go after this company because of this Switch knockoff and anything like that. Whether that truly happens or not, whether Nintendo truly goes after the folks who made this Switch knockoff or not, that remains to be seen, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do in any way. So overall, I have to say, I will admit it does look kind of funny to see this Switch knockoff. At the same time, I can understand how some kids may be disappointed to find out that, thinking they might get a Nintendo Switch only to get this knockoff and all that stuff, although I assume most people right now soon know what a Nintendo Switch really is. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo takes legal action against this company for putting out this Switch knockoff and putting in over 800 games, including games like Super Mario Bros. 3, which, like I said, Nintendo's very known for being very protective of their IPs or not. If they truly go after this company legally, legal-wise, I mean. Whether that happens or not, who knows? We'll have to wait to be seen. But like I said, it's funny, but won't be surprised if Nintendo takes legal actions. That's for certain. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 3, and this one has to do with a somewhat update on Shin Megami Tensei V, a game that was announced for the Nintendo Switch back when it was revealed in 2017. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My Two Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at supposedly an update from Aultus in regards of Shin Megami Tensei V, if I'm saying the name correctly, for the Nintendo Switch. Now, back in around January of 2017, when the Switch was revealed, and they revealed a lot of information from who are developing it to announcement of Switch being region free, which honestly I think that's the best announcement out of there. I think that's really good, and I'm glad Nintendo did that. Thank you Nintendo for doing that. They showed off several different games that were coming to the Nintendo Switch. One of those was one called Shin Megami Tensei V. Apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly. And they show off a quick trailer for it and so forth. But since then, we haven't really heard much about the game. No one knows. At the time, no one knew if the game was still in development. There was no updated screenshots, no gameplay, nothing. And we've had about several E3s have passed and events, and still nothing. Well, apparently, it seems that Aultus has updated their site and has answered in regards of Shin Megami Tensei V, and, well, let's just say the answer isn't sitting well with everybody, to be exact. In an article from Nintendo Enthusiast, links in the description, it reads, quote, Shin Megami Tensei V was announced back in January 2017 for the Nintendo Switch. It was announced almost 3 years ago before the Switch has even released, and in a New Year's card given by the game developers to Japanese gaming magazine Famitsu, Aultus informed fans that Shin Megami Tensei V is under active development. That's it. That's the update on their game that has been in development for 3 years. A vague promise that the game still exists and that they haven't accidentally deleted the source code or anything like that. Honestly, I mean, while it sounds great or anything like that, it is somewhat concerning. I have some concerns about it. I do wonder if this is going to turn into the kind of situation we saw with Steep. For those who are not familiar, again, in January 2017, when they showed off a game reel of games coming to the Nintendo Switch, one of the games was Ubisoft's Steep, and and since then that game kind of disappeared for a little bit. There was basically reports coming out that there were concerns that Ubisoft was having a hard time getting the game running on the Switch, and they asked for Nintendo's help. And then they supposedly quietly canceled it without even saying anything. Thanks, Ubisoft. So I do have concerns about this, though. I am worried of whether or not this could if this Shin Megami Tensei V could fall into the kind of situation we saw with Steep, where basically they decide to quietly cancel it without letting people know about that. Honestly, I hope they don't. I hope we could still see something about Shin Megami Tensei V. I would like to see it come to Nintendo Switch. I mean, we've been seeing lately we're seeing certainly more and more RPGs come to the Nintendo Switch and all that stuff, and I think it would be a real shame if Aultus decides to cancel this one. Then again, Aultus didn't decide to bring Persona 5 over, which Personally, I mean, it's their decision, but I think it's a missed opportunity on their part. So, overall, not a really great response in my opinion, though. I'm hoping the game doesn't get canceled. I'm hoping we'll see some actual gameplay and all that stuff, all that and everything like that. But in the back of my head, I'm a little concerned that this could be one of those situations where they, like what Ubisoft did with Steep, this is a game that they basically quietly cancel without anybody knowing or anything like that. Again, I could be wrong, and Aultus may still be working on it and may have actually something to show, but we'll have to wait and see. But right now, their response, I'm not 100% sold on it. Let's just say. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to our fourth one. And this one's going to be kind of disappointing for those who are hoping for either an HD or a collection of basically what is basically Bandai Namco's Xenosaga. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 4, our final part of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And this one has to do with a report that came out that, unfortunately, it seems as though a Xenosaga collection could have happened. Now, for Nintendo fans, a lot of people have heard the name Monolith Software. They are known for basically the Xenoblade Chronicles series, the first one, which was part of the Operation Rainfall campaign, a campaign for Nintendo to bring over games like Xenoblade Chronicles, The Last Story, and Pandora Tower, though, but at the time, they said no, and that really disappointed a lot of fans. But eventually the game did make its way over to the West, courtesy of being available on the Nintendo World Store in New York City, and as an exclusive at GameStop at the time. And the game has certainly received a lot of praises, so much so that a remake or remaster version was released on the Nintendo 3DS, the new Nintendo 3DS, though it was one of the few 3DS games I could think of that could only work on at the time, the new Nintendo 3DS. And recently we learned that they are actually remaking the first one too, especially for the Nintendo Switch, with better visuals and updates and all that stuff, and I'm definitely looking forward to that one as well. Not to mention, we've got entries like Xenoblade Chronicles X and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I like, but when playing it in portable mode, the resolution took a hit big time. It didn't look exactly that great. I'm willing to forgive it on the fact that it was a launch title for the Nintendo Switch, but I'm hoping going forward, especially with the upcoming remake of Xenoblade Chronicles, they've sort of now will do a better job with the resolution when that game hits the Nintendo Switch. Also, would love to see a remaster or remake of Xenoblade Chronicles X, and would love to see a sequel to that, though. But anyway, back to what I was saying, though. A lot of Nintendo fans heard the name of Monolith Software, along with Soft, though. But at the time, though, they did other entries in the Xeno series, mostly onto the PlayStation, though. I think the first one was Xenogear, basically back, I think in 1998 or 1999 for the original PlayStation, before doing any entry, before working on the Xenosaga, which was released back during the PS2 era. At the time, the PS2 was sort of like many dubbed kind of like the mecca of JRPGs and so forth. Well, apparently it seems as though there were a possibility that a HD collection was going to happen, but it seems as though Bandai Namco has pretty much decided to scrap that, at least for now. In an article basically from Nintendo Life, it reads that, quote, a collection of games in the Xeno series was canned because Bandai Namco was concerned it wouldn't sell the numbers required to turn a profit, according to General Manager Katsuda Harada, Harada. Apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly. Most people will recognize that this is the person, I think, who is known for working on the Tekken fighting game series, though. The series, which began life on the PlayStation in 1998 with Xenogear and included 6 entries on the PS2, laid the foundation for Xenoblade Chronicles X, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2, all which are Nintendo exclusive. Given the interest in the franchise, you would think it would be a dead scent as far as the collection was concerned, but that's not the case, said HARADA, although some work was carried out before the plug was pulled. He wrote on Twitter, quote, This actual process to the remaster plan, but failed in a profit markets analysis. Sorry guys, this plan would be difficult to resurface. To be clear, to be fair, not all of the Xeno games made it to the West, so any collection would involve a considerable amount of localization work. I would say if this is true that there was work on a supposedly a Xenosaga HD collection and all that stuff, I think it is a little unfortunate if what they're saying that they pulled the plug on it. And I think to some degree it's kind of a missed opportunity, though. I think that, especially with the Switch now, especially you're seeing a lot of RPGs come to Nintendo Switch, I think it would be a good opportunity to maybe revise and bring these games back, especially for an audience who may have missed it out during, the PS1 or the PS2 eras, to be exact, or bring it over to, like the PC or even to the PS4 or so forth. So it is a little unfortunate, though. Perhaps maybe Bandai Namco might give it another go. Maybe they'll see how well, we'll see. Maybe they'll take a look at the Xenoblade Chronicles remaster, see how well that does, and if it does well enough, maybe they'll consider giving it a go, trying again, and so forth. But for now, it looks like it's not going to happen, which is, it's unfortunate, though. I mean, I would have liked to see a Xenosaga collection come to the Nintendo Switch. I never played the originals ones on the PS2. It would be nice if they did bring those over to the Switch. I think it would be a great thing to try. Plus, to see Monolith Software's what they worked on before being bought out by Nintendo to do the Xenoblade Chronicles series. So, yeah, it is a little bit unfortunate, though, but it is what it is. Maybe, who knows, maybe, like I said, maybe Bandai Namco will change their opinion down the road. But for right now, overall, it doesn't sound like we're getting a HD collection of the Xenosaga anytime soon, which is, in my view, which I think it's a little bit unfortunate, though. Could they change their mind? Yes, but for right now, looks like it's not going to happen. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week, and again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the possibility of a 64GB Switch game card? Do you think this will open the door for developers to finally bring some games over to the Nintendo Switch? Excuse me. Or do you think the price for it might be too high and that might prevent them from happening? Do you think this could also lead to possibly like the 32GB Switch card being a bit more cheaper now than before? What are your thoughts about this Switch knockoff in any way? Do you think it's kind of funny that this exists? Do you think it's possible some parents might confuse this with an actual Nintendo Switch? And do you think Nintendo will take any kind of legal action against the folks who worked on this Switch knockoff? What do you think about Aultus' response in returns of Shin Megami Tensei V? Do you believe the game is still actively in development? Do you think Aultus will release this game? Or do you think this sounds like they're setting up a situation where they basically eventually cancel the game in any way? What are your thoughts about Bandai Namco and in regards to the possibility we could have had a Xenosaga HD collection? Are you disappointed that Bandai Namco decided to pull the plug on this? Do you think they should make an HD collection of the Xenosaga in any way? Do you think it would have actually fit? Do you think it would have been great to see this on the Nintendo Switch or on the PS4 or even on PC for that matter? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think, and I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it, and I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video, and I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day, and I also wish you all a Happy New Year's as well. Bye!